To introduce myself, I am Leslie Cohen. I'm the Director of Client Development at Ben. And if you are familiar with Ben, we are the global leader in branded integration space. We work with brands to create meaningful partnerships inside of popular entertainment. It's across film, streaming, linear, music, and influencer. But I really want to get into your role and your lab, your digital lab at Ford. So it'd be great to sort of hear more about what the digital lab is at Ford and your position in leading that team and the role you have and the team has within Ford.
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity, Leslie and Pearl and Brand Innovators. It's great to be a part of the panel. Yeah, this is an exciting space, and especially what my day-to-day role is within Ford. So very simply put, Ford Digital Labs is a digital center of excellence, right? So, we're kind of like a digital marketing hub dedicated to creating and sharing best practices across our entire organization, whether that's social, tier one media, everything that we touch in the digital space. But we drive efficiencies, effectiveness by really being disruptive, challenging the status quo through structured testing, measurements, and learning. So again, it's a really important part of our company because we often do postmortems of how different campaigns ran, what can we have done differently, and especially in this ever-changing landscape, it's important for you to do that look back because there's always new learnings. But now I've been with the company, I've been with Ford for 17 years.
Wow.
And it's really interesting seeing where my career has started and where it is today. Kind of this digital center of excellence wasn't even a thing when I was first starting. But my different roles have gotten me to here, and I've been in digital for the last several years. So it's really an exciting part of the business, especially as things are changing so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Barrett had mentioned the engine within the engine, right? All puns intended for you guys. It makes a lot of sense. But it's really hard to talk about emerging media trends without touching upon the last year and a half and COVID and the real effect in accelerating many of those current emerging trends that we're seeing now and we're experiencing. What's here today, is it going to go away, in the future, or are these the actual trends that we're going to be experiencing? So due to COVID specific to the automotive industry, I'd have to imagine there were limited auto shows, right? No in-person or very limited showroom visits, test drives, none of that. So it really brings up the point of how did Ford accommodate sort of new car rollouts without these in-person visits for the past year and a half? I mean, that's got to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I can go on and on about this topic. This could be its own topic, but yeah, I mean, the shutdowns and COVID affected our industry tremendously. I mean, when you look at the manufacturing and the supply chains that it takes to build a car, we're still seeing the effects today with the global microchip shortage that is affecting the entire industry right now. But the last year and a half has been a really pivotal point for Ford. We came out with some truly defining icons. When you take a look at the Ford Bronco that we launched last year, that hadn't been in the market since 1996. we brought in our fully electric Mustang Mach-E, which is a Mustang that's a four-door SUV that's fully electric. And then finally, we've electrified our Ford F-150, the Ford Lightning, at the same time. So these are huge vehicles for us. And we really had to pivot on how we were going to, first of all, launch these vehicles, but secondly, how we're going to get people excited about it. So the first launch was with the Bronco. And what was interesting with that is that, you know, this is an off-road vehicle. This is something that you really can't see the scale of what this vehicle can do unless it's kind of like more of seeing it in its environment, seeing it like go over some rocks and seeing and going through the mud and things like that, really taking it off-road. And so we had a opportunity to launch this vehicle across many different platforms. And we partnered with Disney, which with ABC Disney, and we really tried to find these audiences that would resonate with the Ford Bronco. So we were on Disney Plus, we were on National Geographic, and we were on ESPN. And so these were audiences that we could really resonate with them, show just incredible footage, incredible content that we made specifically for each platform. And then also just this digital aspect that ABC Disney has too. We were able to take advantage of that. With the Mustang Mach-E, we did a live streaming event, but what was really incredible about that is that we also wanted to show what the Mustang Mach-E looked like. And so we had a augmented reality opportunity for people to engage with. So that was really important because for a lot of our customers or a lot of the people that were looking at the Mustang Mach-E, you know, this is something they had never even, it's hard for them to conceptualize that. And taking a look at the technology and see how that would work for them. And they're saying, wait, you're making a Mustang and making it fully electric and it's an SUV. So we really wanted to take them and have them be part of our journey. And so I'm happy to report that, you know, 70% of our vehicles, of our Mustang Mach-E vehicles right now are being purchased by conquest customers, so customers that are new to Ford. So that was really interesting too. And then lastly, the Ford F-150 Lightning, our fully electric F-150. We did a live launch of that just a couple of months ago, and really just to talk about the capability that you're really not giving anything up when you're driving an electric vehicle, especially electric truck. And so that was really interesting. But again, during the pandemic, we had to shift, we had to move, and digital was a huge part of all those launches. I'm happy to report that auto shows are coming back. We just had the Chicago Auto Show just last week. So you can't replicate the smell of a new vehicle, how it feels, but we're doing our best to make virtual or digital experiences for people to really connect with our vehicles.
Wow. Well, I'd love to test drive all three of those, but I'm lucky enough to be in a position to be looking at a new car right now, and I have my eye on that Bronco. That is one cool car. That's very, very cool.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. So you just mentioned all these incredible new emerging platforms that you've been using, and new technologies. How are those decisions made? How does your team work with your media team counterparts in terms of where to allocate the dollars, what is the most effective, sort of like, the behind the scenes. How is that done?
Well, we work hand in glove with our media team. So everything that we do, we are in lockstep with them. But there's certain metrics that we look at that really try to hone in on those KPIs that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. We're constantly evaluating new partners. We're constantly evaluating new platforms. And in each one of them will play a different role. But I think scale is really important for us. Mm-hmm. And that's why I mentioned before Disney. Disney was able to scale across the board with what we were looking for. So that was a great partner for us to use. But when we look at other partners, we want to look at scalability, but we also are interested in those audiences that those media partners have. And of course, we have our first party data, third party data, but again, we want to be relevant. And I think that's really important too. And so we are constantly looking to modernize. We are constantly looking to play to our strengths, but then also disrupt ourselves. And so we have those conversations with the media team. We take a look at our data and analytics to see, how we're performing. But it's a really good relationship. And, my department has been around for roughly 3 years. And, it's just a really good give and take. And I think that's what makes it work so well.
That's awesome. You had mentioned different types of content, so much of it, right? And there's so much engaging, great content being created. But one of the big differences is that because there's so much of it, not everything is being created for mass reach, right? There's a lot of niche content creators, content opportunities, platforms, places. What role does the content play in reaching your consumer? Does that sort of, is that something that you look at specifically outside of the reach? Do you look at it also niche and narrowly?
100% we look at that. And when you're looking at the car buying cycle or the purchase funnel, when you're buying auto, you really have to reach the customer at the right point, right? So are we looking to get awareness? Are we trying to lift our brand affinity? Are we trying to kind of just put our name out there? Or are we really trying to be lower funnel and being really prescriptive and having that customer or purchaser, effectively saying they want to click to buy? They are ready to buy tomorrow. And that purchase funnel is, we have to be really considerate about that. And again, we want to be in all places because we want to, be a challenger. We want to play to our strengths. We want to, show the vehicle and get the customer what they want, whether that's specific options, whether it's the needs of their family or them as a personal driver. We want to answer those questions. So where we place our media, how we place our media, and to the audience we place that media to, we want to make sure that we're making the content specifically for that platform, right? So it's not a one size fit all. And we take a look at that every day. I'll give 2 examples of kind of like some fun content that we've created. Number 1 is in the gaming space, right? If you're familiar with the game Rocket League, we created
who isn't, right?
Right. But we created a special edition F-150 to be played in game, which is, we had our Ford designers work with the game developers to create this vehicle. And the really cool thing is that we took this, digital concept or this, in-game experience, and we actually built it out. We actually built the game vehicle and made it real. And so that's been on tour right now. The Rocket League F-150, you can see it in person at some auto shows, and it's going around the country right now. So that's pretty cool. So that's number one. Number two, and this is a Leslie, in your wheelhouse. It's like, what are we doing to bring our brand into entertainment? Mm-hmm. We created a mockumentary film called John Bronco. John Bronco was the pitch man for the Ford Bronco back in the 60s. So think of John Bronco as kind of like a Marlboro Man or John Wayne type figure. And we showed, I won't give up the story, but you can find it on Hulu. But it talks about Ford releasing the new Bronco. And so that was something else that was entertaining, but then also got people excited about the new product that was coming to market. So those are two kind of fun content productions that we did to go into certain media.
I mean, those are both so incredible. I mean, having two teenage sons, the Rocket League car, I mean, that's going to be a huge thing in my house. So we're going to have to see that for sure. And I will say that up until I had seen John Bronco, Spinal Tap was my favorite mockumentary, but this blows it away. It is so good. I encourage everyone, if they haven't seen John Bronco, spend the 40 minutes on watching this short. It is amazing. Cameos, amazing.
Thanks, Leslie.
Yeah,
I'm glad you get your seal of approval.
I loved it. Shifting gears a little bit, another really important emerging trend that we're seeing playing a greater role with brands, is social causes and the ways in which brands are addressing them. And the ways that brands address these issues, definitely affects consumer purchase decisions, including cars. You have this incredible perspective, having been at Ford for 17 years in different departments, and sort of having seen the evolution of some of these shifts. What are some of the biggest shifts that you're seeing at Ford in terms of addressing social, environmental, sustainability issues, the big issues that the auto industry at large is tackling?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I think this is really important to talk about. So when we talk about a company, a legacy company like Ford, who's been around for 118 years, what does Ford stand for? And I think customers or people that know Ford, they want to do business with Ford. It's like, hey, do they have common values as me as a person, and they want to do business with them? So, that's something that you can't fake. It's got to be authentic. And at Ford, our purpose is to help build a better world. It's where every person is free to move and pursue their dreams. And so it's something that we hold very dearly in our hearts as part of our DNA, because we feel that, okay, everyone should be able to move. Everyone should be able to be free. But I'll go back to, my entire career is like, what does your company stand for? Our company didn't take any bailout money during the Great Recession. That was huge. As far as sustainability goes, Ford was the first auto company to come out with a sustainability report. That was 22 years ago. So it's not something that is new to us. We feel that it's so important, this annual sustainability report, that we have included it into our annual financial report that we share amongst our shareholders, because we feel that sustainability is so important. And honestly, it can be a competitive advantage. And we take a look at, our social issues and what Ford's done. Ford has been around for 118 years. Like I said, we serve our communities, our dealers serve our communities. We provide employment for not only here in the US, but globally too. But Ford has a history of helping minorities in STEM education. So young girls in STEM education, contributing to HBCUs, doing work in the Detroit area, but also all over the country. And I think more importantly, Ford's always there to help when natural disaster strikes. First responders are usually driving Fords. So whether it's wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, you're going to see Ford show up because these are communities that we serve, but these are people that we serve too. And I also like to say that Ford also is very, very involved in Ford accessibility, which is making sure those that have handicaps are able to be transported around, they're able to drive, and we have the accessories or capabilities to make it easy for them to get into our Ford vans and our Ford trucks and our Ford vehicles. So yeah, it's important. It's important to our company. And like I said, take a look at what companies have done, not just in the last couple of years, but what they've done traditionally. I think what we've done differently is we're better at storytelling. We're better at telling the story of what we've always done. Now we're able to do it and communicate that better.
That's so awesome to hear about all of that, because that's really that's the DNA of any company, right? And it's not, like you said, something just that you jumped on the last 3 to 5 years. I mean, that's something that Ford has been invested in. It's been important to them. And, I hadn't realized about all the first responders. Now that you mention it, yes, they do. So many do drive Ford vehicles. So it's great to hear about that stuff.
And I will say, I'm sorry,
sorry,
I will just say, and I didn't touch upon it enough, but I want to talk about like electrification. I was talking about, what we've done with the Mustang Mach-E, we've done it with the Ford F-150, but total spending for Ford, we're going to spend up to $30 billion by 2025 in electrification, but also battery development. So I think that's really important. So it's not just, hey, we're coming out with a Mustang Mach-E or a Ford F-150 that's electrified. This is our strategy going forward. So we're anticipating that by 2030, 40% of Ford's global vehicles will be fully electric. So, so I think that's really important too, to see not where we are at today, but kind of where we're going as, environmental sustainability is kind of like this big important thing.
Yeah, I'm so glad you touched upon that, because that was sort of where I was going with, electric cars and things like that. But, outside of electric cars and all the technological advances in the auto industry, as we sort of wrap up, and please, everyone, feel free to ask questions because we'll get to those in a few minutes. What are you most excited about, right? Not only as a Ford employee, right, but also as an auto consumer. Like, what gets you most excited about the industry, the space, where it's going, sort of all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be in the auto industry, I think, because it's truly a shift. Because what I was saying about just the investment that's going into electric vehicles, what I haven't talked about is what's going into autonomous vehicles, right? So,
Yeah.
so Ford has partnered with Lyft and Argo AI, which is kind of autonomous vehicle company. we've been piloting this for a while, autonomous vehicles, but we are going to be in 2 cities, Miami first, and that you're going to see that by the end of the year, and then Austin, Texas is next. But we're going to be having Lyft autonomous vehicles that are going around picking up people for rides. Now, there's going to be somebody in the driver's seat that's making sure that everybody feels comfortable and just monitoring it. But you're going to be able to see all the sensors, all the analytics, all the technology that's going on as a rider to be more comfortable in riding in an autonomous vehicle. I've done it myself before, and it's very, very cool just to see all the calculations that are going on at the same time. But yeah, if you're in those 2 major cities and you're a Lyft customer, you might be able to be picked up in an autonomous vehicle.
Wow. Yeah, I would think the first couple of times you ride in an autonomous vehicle, it would be nice to, yes, have someone there, sort of like as a proctor, right? Make you feel comfortable. But if not, just seeing the things happening, I think has to really impart a sense of safety in the passenger. That's, you sort of want to see how this is moving, how this is going, what's going into it, and all the different, sort of moving parts. So we're gonna head into questions, but I definitely want to end my questions on a lighter note. And being an auto guy, I can't be the only one wondering what car you're driving these days. So what are you driving?
I mean, I don't want to disappoint you. Like I would say I have this classic car that's sitting in my garage that, I wax every weekend, treat like my baby, but I don't. I drive a 2020 green Ford Escape. It fits my lifestyle. It's a great, just everyday driver. I tend to switch out of my vehicles very quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly, I would say test driving vehicles all the time. But I've driven tons of vehicles. I will say that my first car with the company, I was talking about it before, I got recruited right out of college, and I show up to work, and my first company car was a red Mustang convertible. And,
I mean, how good is that? First of all, just to have that car in and of itself is amazing. But then you show up in that. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
I wasn't expecting that. So that's a nice little treat.
That's awesome. So we do have some great questions coming in. I'd love to get a few going. Okay, so this one is interesting. What brands do you look up to, and what leaders in marketing do you admire? Who are you sort of following, and who's like someone that you're very interested in?
Great question. I like to follow sports brands, and so marketing wise, I like to follow Adidas and what they've done in the digital space, in the e-commerce space. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. I feel like with some of their limited releases that they've done to build hype and get people excited and sneaker culture is just really interesting. Their partnership with Kanye West and Yeezy, that's a phenomenon in itself. But more importantly, I think, that's their e-commerce platform and how they get people excited about the brand. So that's something that I like. As far as marketing leaders, I don't really have one in particular that I look at. I tend to look at fast food as things that people are doing to push the envelope. I feel like that's an area that is important. It's very strategic, and again, as consumers taste change, whether it's Impossible Burgers or more of a health kick or farm to table, I find fast food in that market, how are they shifting and how are they developing what in their eyes is their secret sauce is important. So those are kind of like the two industries that I look at. So I hope that answers the question, but those are two big things that I look at.
Yeah, Adidas is such a great one to watch, but I do sense a John Bronco Wrangler collab. I said that could happen. So that, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So next question, how has the crisis forced modifications to short, mid, and long-term goals? And how do you measure success based on changes in consumer behavior? So sort of a two-parter.
So right now we're having a huge inventory issue because of an issue, right? And the microchip shortage. So it's not only a global automaker issue. We share those microchips with phones, TVs, everything. As cars get more and more technology, these are things that we are competing against with the mobile phone companies, with personal electronic devices. And so when you think of all the parts that vehicles rely on, and this one thing is so important, that's something that can hold up the whole process. But what we are looking at is more of a, just in time, order process where customers have more, ability to customize their vehicles. So I think traditionally you see when you're buying a new car, it's a lot of times it's like what's available on a dealership lot, right? I think this has really leaned in to, okay, customers want what they want. They know those accessories that they want. They know what color they want. They know what they're willing to pay for. But how do we speed that up as a manufacturing company? So I think that's the big thing. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
How do you measure success based on changes in consumer behavior?
I think just the demand for it. When we look at electric vehicles, are customers really ready to take the jump to go fully EV? So there's also plug-in hybrids that take in electric or gas, but are people really willing to take the leap of faith and understanding their driving habits? Our Mustang Mach-E goes 300 miles plus on a single charge. So so it's one of those things where are people willing to take that leap of faith and say, okay, I'm ready for this new technology. And so it's one of those things of looking in the future, and that's how we see success. And so we don't have a history of, okay, are people going to get the extended range battery? Are they going to get the kind of lower range battery? Are they willing to pay more to get that extended range? And so part of our strategy was people making reservations for their vehicle. And so we could have a better lead time of, okay, these are how many batteries, and this is part of our supply chain as it comes through. So we're not caught producing too many of the wrong variants.
Yeah. I think that dovetails nicely because that's so much about the car buying experience and, and inventory management and all of that. This question from Becky says, she said, great to hear lots of future developments besides the autonomous cars and electric cars. Are there new developments around tech innovation in the newer model cars that could change a consumer's in-car experience?
100%. I love this question because we have the ability to reach those customers and understand driving habits, make it easier for them. And so at Ford, we have over-the-air capabilities for our modem-enabled vehicles. So we're going to have 33 million vehicles that are over-the-air update that we can, just the same way that you get an update on your phone or your computer, but we'll have 33 million of those by 2028. So the experience, you're not going to have to take it to a dealership or something to get your computer reflashed, or it's all going to be done over the air. And so one of those things is as a consumer, we want to make the experience better, for the customer, for the driver. And so there are things, there's technologies, there's cameras embedded in the vehicles that we can optimize, we can improve, we can fix bugs or anything like that. And so I think that's really important. We're also partnering with Google for some of our in-vehicle technologies as well. So we have a leader in that space that can really help us with kind of like must-have products and services. But then we're going to be having those services as well. So look forward to some of these, like I said, over-the-air updates and the current that are modem enabled, and then some of our future vehicles that will have that too.
I mean, talk about convenience, that is going to be a game changer. I mean, the less amount of times you have to go or the light comes on and you're like, what do I do now? I don't know what to do, or at least I don't. So that I think is just going to create a really good consumer experience. Hi, Pearl.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Hey, Pearl.
That was so fascinating. So many great things to hear what you're doing over there at Ford. I mean, I love hearing that you're investing, $30 billion in sustainability and electric cars and battery development and all the AI technology. I mean, that's great coming from a person that doesn't have a driver's license. So bring that on. So thank you so much, Leslie and Dan, for that great conversation. We hope to have you both back again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks,
this was
Dan.
a lot of fun. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks,
great
Pearl.
chatting. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, thanks so much to Dan and Leslie for closing out the day strong in the future of media on new media and emerging channels. It was a great day of speakers, and we are excited for all our upcoming days on this topic. We hope that you will all join Brand Innovators next week on Monday, August 9th at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the Sports Marketing Upfront Summit. We will be joined by marketing leaders from State Farm, MGM Resorts, United Airlines, PepsiCo, AB InBev, State Farm, AT&T, NBA, Google, and many more. Thank you for joining, everyone, and we hope to see you again soon.